We expelled the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and the other elements of the so-called syndicate of extremists that had found sanctuaries and safe havens in Afghanistan. They eventually relocated into the federally administered tribal areas and some of the other areas of the border regions.
Okay, so no Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda, according to American experts on terrorism, is about to bring down Pakistan, even though the Pakistanis themselves would rather handle it their way. Right, but where is this guy over here? Well, Obama's national security advisor, he does not mince his words. He says, and I quote, "The truth is, I don't think anybody knows." Okay, so why not ask the president of Pakistan, Mr. Asif 10% Zardari? He knows.
Where is Osama bin Laden?
You all have been there for 8 years, you tell me. You lost him in Tora Bora, I didn't. I was in prison.
So what if Osama took the night train from Tora Bora to eternity?
I've said before that I don't think he's alive. I've asked my counterparts in the American intelligence agencies, and they haven't heard of him since 7 years.
So nobody knows. Well, Mr. 10%'s wife, apparently, she did know. As she told David Frost, yes, the Frost-Nixon guy.
Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden.
Okay, maybe Benazir meant the man who murdered journalist Daniel Pearl. Maybe she meant what she said. Frost, he never asked. Pity Benazir was not Richard Nixon. So we are stuck with a cliffhanger. This man, at least he knew what he wanted.
I don't care, dead or alive, either way.
إنها الجهاد المقدس لاسترجاع بيت المقدس والقدس ويح القدس ديس عفافها والمسلمون عن الجهاد نيام.
What about Dead or Dead? What if all these jihadi greatest hits, they were coming back from the grave? This man, he also seems to know what he wants.
Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda are our #1 threat when it comes to American security.
Well, but Osama may be dead or dead. And he's the reason for the whole war on terror in the first place. Now let's see what the former CIA station chief in Kabul thinks. He writes, and I quote, "Only the withdrawal of American NATO boots on the ground will begin to allow for the region to start to cool down." Cool down? Forget it. Look at the new top boot on the ground. Do you think you know what raising hell is all about? Well, look at him. This is General Stanley McChrystal, former commander of the Pentagon's Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, the Special Ops in Iraq, which included Delta Force and the Navy SEALs. McChrystal supervised Task Force 626, the ultimate titanium tip of Special Ops forces specialized in, well, torture. Their slogan: if you don't make them bleed, they can't prosecute for it. Seymour Hersh described JSOC for what it is, a killing machine. So, with Osama dead or dead and no Al-Qaeda, what about leaving Afghanistan? No way. Here's the new mission in Obama's war, the Afghan chapter. The mission is General McChrystal in charge of disappearing the entire Taliban threat, along with some Pashtun collateral damage, of course. Even with the new delightfully Orwellian makeup, the White House and the Pentagon now call it Overseas Contingency Operation. The War on Terror framework stays. And stays. The Pentagon means what it says when it coined the term Lone War. As for this question, asked by the Germans, that's self-evident. And as for the place to go this summer, that's Dasht-e-Margo, the desert of death in southern Afghanistan. Why? Because of this new 5-star resort inspired by what else? Guantanamo, Abu Ghraib, and Bagram. Well, at least something is now McChrystal clear. Obama does not need this guy, dead or dead, to continue to fight his war.
Donate today and receive a new documentary film available to members of the Real News Network. The History of the National Security State with legendary author Gore Vidal. Bonus features of the DVD include an in-depth response to Vidal from ex-CIA analyst Ray McGovern, who served under 7 U.S. presidents, an exclusive interview with Colin Powell's former Chief of Staff Larry Wilkerson, and an insightful interview with oil policy analyst Antonia Juhas.
The news magazine of the screen. Living glimpses of history in the making.
Hollywood and Washington is a symbiotic relationship. They both deal with illusions. Reality doesn't often play much of a part. I think I saw through the myth of the Cold War almost from the beginning. I was a Washington political kid from a political family. Roosevelt first had radio because he had this great speaking voice and everyone liked to hear. Truman proceeded to break every arrangement that Roosevelt had set up for a peaceful coexistence. And Truman thought that it would be a good idea. Why not just stay armed all the time? And then he devised the national security state. You've got to go up and swear allegiance to the United States or else you're a commie. I mean, we had imported fascism. We get Dwight Eisenhower, who said that we have this great military industrial complex. It is a dangerous thing. And he said this is going to change everything. And the way our country's governed is going to change us politically. Along comes Jack Kennedy, who wanted to make his mark, believed in the Cold War. But he said, in this kind of politics, it is the appearance of things that matters. I think everybody should take a sober look at the world about us. The national security state still exists, only it isn't communism anymore, it's terrorism. This is the most serious thing that has happened in the history of the United States. Knowledge is power. We need an honest news system.
We need the real news.
This is the sort of thing we can build right now without anyone else's permission from the government or from the business community. It's the power's in our hands.
If we're not going to sleepwalk into more wars, we think we need to start with a television news network that won't bow to pressure and has the courage to seek facts. And that means independent economics. And that's why we need you.
Make a tax-deductible donation now of at least $10 a month or a one-time give of at least $75. As a thank you for your support, we will send you the new documentary film, The History of the National Security State.